Okay, so for this video, we're going to talk about how to make a blanket. So I'm going to start off by making a slip knot here. So what we're going to do for this blanket is we're actually going to create a swatch, and that swatch is going to basically mean or sort of represent the full blanket. You can use any kind of yarn for this. You can use thick yarn, thin yarn. I'm using a thinner yarn today, but when I make the blanket, I'm using a thicker yarn, just so it goes up quicker. So the first thing you want to do is start with some chains. And I'm going to chain as many as I want for the length of the blanket, okay? So since this is just a swatch, I am going to be doing not that much. I'm not going to chain super a lot, but basically you want to chain until you've got the full length of your blanket. Now what we're going to be working on crocheting is the width of our blanket. So once you have chained all the way to the full length you want, I chose to do the full length of my body. That was really nice for the blanket. Then you can start creating single crochets. And so you're gonna create single crochets all the way to the end of the row. So that's gonna be our first row. Now, when you're done with crocheting the first row in single crochets, what you're gonna do is do that 4 more times. Okay, so at least 4 more times, sorry. You're gonna do that anywhere between 4 more times and 9 more times. So you either wanna have 5 rows or 10 rows. It just depends on how big you want your stripes to be. So you can do however big of stripes you want. So when I'm done with this, I'll meet you back here. Okay, so for the sake of this demonstration, I've just done 3 rows. So these are 3 flat rows. I've just done single crochets for 3 rows. The next thing that we're gonna do is create a ribbed row. So what we're gonna do is, instead of going into the front, we're going into the back loop. Okay, so we're gonna create single crochets into the back loop, and it's going to create a ribbed stitch for us. So once we're done with this row, then we're gonna do the same thing. So you wanna do the same number of rows. So if you did 10 rows of just regular single crochets, then you wanna do 10 rows of rib stitching. But basically you want it to be even, so I think I am right in what I'm saying right now, but if for some reason I'm not, I will let you know. But basically you want to create it so that it's even with the number you're doing. So now that I've finished the row, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and we're going to do the exact same thing, going into not the front loop but the back loop. So I'm doing this 3 times, since I did the first one 3 times, and I can already see that I am doing this, that I have led you astray. So what you want to do is you want to do this until it is even. So it's probably going to be twice as many. So since I did 3 rows of the single crochet chain, I'm probably going to need to do 6 rows of the rib stitch in order for it to look the same at the end. So I'm going to show you what I mean as I go through this here. So for example, I'm already almost done with 2 rows of the ribbed stitching, and you can already tell that it's clearly not the same size as the first set. Okay, so here's one more, and so again, as a demonstration to show you that 3 is not nearly enough. You're gonna want to do probably twice as much, just so that you can get the same width. But basically what you're doing is you're creating little strips of ribbed and then straight, and that is how you create your throw blanket. So I'm going to finish this row. Okay. So we've got 3, and you can see that it's not quite enough. Is it? Let's see. It is enough. Oh my gosh. I was right the first time. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay. Well, so once I've done 3, then it's going to be the correct amount. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right back to these. And then, so basically you just create rows of this and then this. So you create rows of straight stitches and then you create rows of ribbed stitches. So as we've just found out together, it is the same number. So I was right the first time. I should never have doubted myself. I'm sorry. Anyways. So now instead of going in the back, I'm going in the front. So 3 more rows. And like I said before, just depending on how thick or thin you want your strips to be, you can do 3 rows, you can do 5 rows. I encourage you to do at least 5 rows per type, since it is a blanket, so it's going to be much bigger than just this little swatch that I'm creating. Alright. 1, 2 is what I'm working on right now. And 3. Okay, so we can see now that I've finished out, you've got 3 rows of just the straight single stitches, single crochet stitches, and then we've got 3 rows of the ribbing, and then 3 rows of the single crochet, and then 3 rows of the ribbing once again. So that is how you make this blanket. That is how you do it. And when you're done with the full blanket, it will look something like this. Okay, so here is my blanket finished. And what I've done here is, you can see the straight and then the ribbing, and then straight and then ribbing. So I didn't make mine super wide, but you can make yours, you can just make yours super wide if you'd like. It's a really great blanket, so I hope you guys have fun making this one, and I will see you in the next one.